One of mankind's biggest questions remains unsolved to this day. How, exactly, were the universe created? I think the natural drive to explore and uncover new revelations is why we, as a human race, have progressed so massively over just the past century. A vital part of progression and change is how something started out, where it came from before changing. In this video I want to explore the origins of one of my favorite video game series, aptly named Dragon Age Origins. Before we fully begin, let me warn you about possible spoilers and a recommendation for you to play it yourself to experience it completely. With that said, let's start. With both J.R.R. Tolkien and George R.R. Martin's works in mind, BioWare set out to create a new spin on RPGs. When making the world, BioWare borrowed inspiration from both aforementioned authors, particularly Tolkien, with some notable differences when it came to races. Dwarves cannot use magic, and elves are considered to be servants or slaves in contrary to Tolkien's works. The game was also described as a spiritual successor to BioWare's previous works, Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. The moniker given to the first Dragon Age is not only for show. One of the most impressive things about creating your own character is the amount of choices you're presented with in the beginning. Choices that will actually make a difference for the rest of the game. The player is able to pick one of 6 origin stories that results in a difference when it comes to classes, stats, background, items, dialogue options and the start of the game itself. No matter what choice you make, however, it converges into a place known as Ostagar, the place where you are to become a Grave Warden. Warriors, especially adept, versus the demons known as Darkspawn. These Darkspawns are part of something called the Blights. The Blight is the main focal point of Dragon Age Origins. Every now and then, Darkspawn find one of the old gods, ancient, gods slumbering in the depths of the earth, which is then transformed into an archdemon and then leads the Horde to attack the overworld. So after recruiting another Grey Warden, Alistair, you and 2 others venture into the wilds in search of Darkspawn blood. And here you gain the first true taste of adventuring. Quests, loot, combat, and maybe even death. Dragon Age already does something not many other games does. Unmarked Quests. These are very similar to ordinary quests, but has no markers, arrows or locations shown on the map, and you have to find out what the quest entails yourself. After you return to camp with some vials of Darkspawn blood, you are clued in on what the joining, as it's called, very clever name, really entails. The blood is to be ingested, and if they survive, they are now a Grey Warden, having access to Darkspawn essence called the Taint. Again, great name. Otherwise, this may happen.
Take his breath. I am sorry, Avith.
Had I known.
There is no turning back.
No! You ask too much. There is no glory in this.
I am sorry.
Turns out, Grey Wardens can feel a connection to the Darkspawn Horde, gaining an upper hand in battle and in general. After becoming an official Grey Warden, you are quickly assigned a new mission. King and his army are to engage the Darkspawn head-on, and after you and Alistair signal the other part of the army, they'll flank the Darkspawn and clear them out for good. As you can imagine, this doesn't happen, and instead, this happens.
Pull out! All of you, let's move!
In summary, Loghain betrays the king and your former mentor Duncan dies, the army is most definitely wiped out, and you and Alistair are seemingly killed. If it isn't made clear already, this is a brutal game depicting the worst qualities found in man.
Staring at me!
For example, when in battle, you may be able to execute your enemies with a unique move when their health depletes. But that isn't all, there are many other straight up terrifying things to be found. No punches are pulled, and Duncan's death represents how anyone can die, and it also shows the overwhelming force of the Darkspawn. It turns out, however, you're not dead, and you awaken in a small hut out in the wilds, having been saved by a witch known as Flemeth. Now all that is left to do is raise an army, recruit the major leaders and forces in Ferelden, and eventually stop the Blight by slaying the Archdemon. Easy peasy. Also a reminder that all of this happens in the span of 2.5, maybe 3 hours into the game. The opening of Dragon Age is extremely strong and immediately integrates you into the story in a beautiful way. Ahead of you lies a number of different paths to take, and I admire the freedom to take your own path. Or at least I admired it until I reached the interior of Castle Redcliffe, and getting my head smashed in by a horde of way stronger enemies than I. There is an obvious way the developers wanted you to take when recruiting armies for the big battle, but it's never clear exactly which way they want you to take, if you don't look it up yourself. Yet every way is possible to take as long as you have the right setup, or rather spells. The order you decide to tackle each major area in the game also has an impact on your possible actions. Let's take the quest The Arl of Redcliffe as an example. I decided to go to Redcliffe first. In Redcliffe, the village is attacked every night by walking corpses. After a few battles and some intrigue, it's revealed that all is not right within the castle walls. As I entered the castle, I was greeted with a dilemma. Since I spared a blood mage by the name of Jovin that I had found earlier in a cell, I was presented with two options. Either free a boy by the name of Connor from a demon by entering the Fade and battling the demon face to face, but this ritual would need a life in exchange, the young boy's mother. The other option would be to chase Connor and bash his skull in. Either way, it's a hard choice to make because you only have two options, right? If you ventured to the Circle Tower first and completed the Broken Circle quest siding with the mages before going to Redcliffe, you are presented with a third and possibly the best option. Go to the Circle Tower, ask for help from the mages, and they'll go to Redcliffe and send a mage into the Fade through the use of lyrium, mana essentially. Thus being able to save Connor without anyone dying and not losing that much approval from the party. This type of quest design makes the game somewhat tailored to how you want to play, with consequences and different outcomes depending on your direct choices. Choices which actually have an impact on the overall plot or quests, even going as so far as to change how your teammates think about you and themselves. Each of the main quests shines in different ways, giving the player a varied experience, but still providing a lot of content at the same time. They are usually quite long, and they also tie into a lot of side quests which are usually directly related to the main quests. Exploring the Dead Trenches, for example, can give you knowledge of dwarven history, their fabled golems, and even some hidden revelations. It's this combination of things that makes every area impressive, distinctive in their own way. The absolutely strongest point Dragon Age has going for it is the companions, consisting of Alistair, Morrigan, Dog, Sten, Vyn, Leliana, Sevran, Ogren, DLC Golem, and a hidden potential character. These characters can be recruited from many different places, and most of them is easily missable if you don't explore at all. The first playthrough I did, playing as a rogue, I missed the literal giant Sten, because I didn't go where he was before it was too late. Each teammate also rely on you for guidance, but will give their opinions and personal approval based on your choices. So not only is it important to have a team where the characters complement each other, but it's also important to keep in mind what type of character they are. Let's take an example. Alistair is a former Templar, righteous, heroic, law-abiding, yet insecure when it comes to standing up for himself and generally being a bit too naive for his own best. Morrigan is a cynical witch from the wilds that values independence and power above all else, disapproving of actions that do not further the Warden's call, or actions that benefit people she perceives as worthless. These two characters clash on most decisions, but will agree on rare occasions and might even offer some juicy banter between one another. Strangely enough, these are two of my favorite companions. This is a great example on how the characters themselves makes the game feel more alive, because they behave and interact with the player like real characters, and each other. They grow and change during the game. During the process of creating this video, I scribbled down some notes about what I thought about the characters. This is the same note, and not to brag about myself, but I believe it's accurate. One important thing to keep in mind is that all these characters heavily rely on their own moral compass. If you defy their beliefs too much, they can leave the group permanently or straight up even attack you. On the other hand, if you manage to get in their good graces, they might let you in on their past lives, their struggles and their thoughts. Each companion also have a personal quest that is often quite fruitful in many ways. I enjoyed Morrigan's and Ogren's personal quests the most. So, the characters of Dragon Age are pretty special. But another strong point that the game offers is the viability when it comes to combat. Unlike most RPG games, at least at the time, Dragon Age features a pause button. This lets you issue commands to each separate party member depending on the situation. Having Alistair take aggro from a group of enemies targeting your mage, while having the mage channel a powerful chain lightning on the enemy group. Or have the warrior go and knock down the enemy spellcaster while your rogue flings arrows from afar. Power of issuing commands and building a party to suit your needs is highly addicting. My personal preference is a party consisting of a tank, a DPS warrior, one supportive mage and one damage focused mage. And you don't have to pause the game. You can instead opt to customize tactics for each party member. Like if party member's health is lower than 25%, use heal ability. Or you can just rush into each battle not giving two single f***s and whack away. This is another case of freedom of choice that Origins nails. There may be times where you are forced to rely more on the pause and issue commands functionality. One such time is when you're battling against high dragons, foes not to be tampered with without a strategy of some kind. Each party member have the potential to unlock a specialization upon reaching level 7, aside from Sten and the DLC Golem. This is another way they are unique from one another. Warriors can choose to become berserkers, champions, reavers and templars. Rogues can choose between assassins, bards, duelists and rangers. And mages can tap into the powers of arcane warriors, blood mages, shapeshifters and finally spirit healers. These specializations don't come free, however, as all of them need to be unlocked to use. Some are easier to find, such as the Templar class, which can be bought from Bodan at the party camp, the party merchant essentially, for 15 gold, or Alistair himself can teach the player the specialization if the approval rating is high enough, free of charge. Speaking of leveling up, after you've amassed enough experience through either quests, battles, unlocking locked objects, disarming traps, and reading codexes, the character gains 3 attribute points which you can put into whatever stat you'd like to improve, 1 talent point which you can use to learn a new ability, and every 3 or 2 levels you also gain a skill point, which can be used to learn a skill of your choosing. Herbalism to create concussions which can aid you in battle, stealing in order to gain some extra gold or items, trap making to gain an advantage when planning battles, or maybe go a different route and learn coercion in order to influence others' choices easier. This provides another layer to the already full-packed layer cake that is Dragon Age. When making the game, a large focus for BioWare was to not only make a great game, but they had a special vision to make it an epic RPG. Hence why the game has a heavy focus towards being cinematic. Huge epic fights, dramatic events, and a lot of, well, cinematics. Simply watching the opening cinematic immerses you in the Dragon Age's world, while also showing you the dark and gritty setting you're about to venture into. The world is diverse in both its locations, their respective design, but also in the different creatures inhabiting it. The dark underground caves of Orzammar or the lush forests of the Brazilian outskirts are examples of beautiful places you can visit. All these points are backed by an absolutely fantastic soundtrack composed by Einon Sur with Aubrey Ashburn on the vocals. Still to this day, it's one of the more recognizable soundtracks in the game, and there is not a single bad track on there. When it's a highly impactful battle, or when the moment calls for a somber moment, the soundtrack will reflect that in every capacity. To complete the game, every dialogue is fully voice acted, no matter how small or inconsequential. The voice work is some of the better ones I've heard in any game out there. Each line is delivered with believability and conviction. Anger, sadness, despair are all feelings the voice actors manages to capture through the use of their voice alone.
Your fascination with glory and legends will be your undoing, Kalen. We must attend to reality.
You're alive. I thought you were dead for sure.
Are you sure you're not a baker? 'Cause you got a sodding nice set of buns.
Well, look what the Nug dragged in.
The entire game is overflowing with atmosphere. The graphics may be somewhat dated, but the style makes it hold up to this day. The amount of life BioWare managed to pump into the game is still impressive, and many games still fail to reach this polish when it comes to creating not only a game, but an entire world. I think the amount of details also helps the game in this regard. The entire game is honestly a testament to what the old BioWare could accomplish back in the day. And it's quite strange that Origins has this last ability. How it's still on contestation to be one of the best RPGs ever made. Whether this is true or not is an entirely different question. This video wasn't meant to be this long or in-depth, but as I played more, I remembered more. I was inspired, and as I wrote more and more, I wanted it to be well made, longer, because I want to talk about and show the game as best as I can. Dragon Age Origins is a dark story about the Blight, a story of heroes, high fantasy and politics, a story about friendship, betrayal and despair. But first and foremost, it's a story that I love. So that was it. Thank you for watching this video. I really went a bit overboard while making it, but I just felt like it, to be honest. I wanted to tackle Dragon Age Origins for quite a while now, so I'm glad this has been completed. If you like what you saw, you can leave a like down below and even a comment. And if you really like it, you can subscribe. I'll pump out more and more videos about different games, playthroughs and all the other stuff I like to do. So with that said, thank you again, Also, have a good one. See ya.